Meeting town board for the Tuesday, September 10th to order for town Wheaton. Rise and say the pledge of allegiance and a moment of silence for pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Mark Laskowski.
Here.
Alice Drosky.
Here.
Wayne Miller.
Here.
Ken Books. Here. Bud Beck.
Here.
Approval of agenda.
I make a motion, we approve the agenda.
I'll second that.
Motion made and seconded to approve the agenda. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Clerk's report. Got the meeting minutes. Everybody read them. And we got check register. What's the check register? Oh,
Should be coming down there.
yeah. Pass that back to Scott.
Give that to Scott.
Thank you.
Public comments.
We need a motion to
Right.
approve the minutes.
Oh, we got,
I'll make a
Good.
motion that we,
Yep.
no, we do.
Yep.
I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes from our August 13, 2019 meeting.
I'll second it.
motion made, second to approve minutes. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, now we'll go on to public comments. Go ahead.
I brought Brian Johnson from Johnson Disposal. Do you have us some ideas of what he can do for us versus Advance? We're supposed to be on that deal, but we'll put him here.
I'll stand over the side here, so
Would you go
Right
to the
here to the speaker?
microphone, please?
Sure.
If you would. Thank you.
Hi, Brian Johnson with Johnson Rollout Service. I come here because I was asked to come out to the recycling and transfer station site, take a look at what you're doing. And so I looked at things and just, came to talk to you a little bit about what's going on. And we can provide all those services. I may do a few things different. One thing I guess I wanted to talk about was the recycling. I mean, right now you got 4 8-yard containers there and they're always full. One of the things that cause it to be full is a lot of stuff in there doesn't belong in there. I don't know if people are aware where things are at as far as recycling, but what I did is I printed off, this stuff came, it doesn't say Chippewa County, but it come off the Chippewa County recycling site. Now, I'm gonna hand that, you can pass these out. And if you'll take a look at mainly the bottom, you'll see that what they're taking in their, the city on what's on the county sites for plastics is 1s and 2s with necks. That's kind of where recycling started back in 1990. I was there when that happened. I was involved with that. And then all these other plastics got added. But and I've got another report I'll hand out. It's from I don't know what township it's from, but you can talk to anybody, and the verbiage in here is the same thing. 3 through 7 is going to the landfill. So people are bringing this stuff there. I know they feel good about recycling all this stuff, but it's going to the landfill. There's no market for it. And you can take a look at this and see what you think about it. But I'll pass this out. But it's stuff that's take up space on the recycling containers. You know, I saw what's in, I've been to I've been over to Dunn County, been different places, and, there's plastic pails, there's all kinds of stuff there. If it's plastic, people think it's being recycled. And nobody is, you know, the people that are picking it up have never told you you can't have that, but I think that's coming. If, for instance, I was gonna be taking over hauling your stuff, I would be taking it down to Advanced, dumping it on their floor, and they send their stuff to Waste Management. These facilities that sort and take care of this stuff, they're so big and expensive. I mean, a lot of people used to put these things up. Cities had them and stuff like that, but they just don't work. They're so expensive. There's only a few people that have these facilities now. So in the end run, if I hauled this stuff, it would be going to Waste Management. They're throwing 3 through 7s away. That's just some information. I'm gonna hand these out. Those kind of things are highlighted on the second page, or you can take a look at that. And if there's something you wanna do in the future, that's just something that we would take a look at. I mean, I can haul your 30-yard roll-off box, I can haul your compactor. That's pretty much cut and dried. It's just recycling. And if I did it, I don't have and if you aren't aware, there's 4 different containers. Those all get dumped in one truck. So all that stuff is sorted in those containers. That doesn't stay sorted anyhow. I don't know if you're aware of that, but it's all co-mingled. So
Is that gonna continue, co-mingling garbage?
yeah, the
single
way
stream?
they're picking it up, it is, and I would do the same unless there was a.
I mean, it's all single stream recycling anyway,
Right,
when it gets to the sorting and all that stuff.
right, yeah. Well, what I would do is I don't have garbage trucks or front load trucks. I'd probably put a 30-yard roll-out box with some kind of a cover on it and throw it in there, which would help with one of the problems that the guys have now is some of the stuff that's in there is kind of fluffy and bulky, and they got a couple containers where they can stick their bucket in and pack it down, and there's a couple containers that won't fit in there. If you were able to work with some place where we could put a roll-out box that people might have to build in a wall, like people could throw it in there, but then if they needed to, they could take the end loader and pack it down. Just some of the little simple things that they're dealing with on the site.
Yeah. Okay. Do you have pricing and stuff for, together, what are we gonna?
What I did is I put, I saw what your June bill was, what I'd listed my services and how we would do things.
Mhm.
And it's a few $100s cheaper. It's not a big deal, but it's simple, you can look at it. Nobody can look at this and figure out what you're paying for. It took me a while, but, mine, doesn't have, monthly, fluctuations in environmental fees and stuff like that. I dump off their site, I get a price that's so many dollars a ton. And all of those things that they vary, they change those every month, but all comes into one price that I pay. They use these other prices that you'll see on some of your bills where they got 4 or 5 different fees and they all fluctuate every month. And this is how our bills would break down and look like.
When you stated that it'd be a couple $100 difference, is that per month or per year?
Per month. And one of the variables that could make a little bit more is if you took those things out that aren't being recycled, you stuck to like with the recycling brochure that Chippewa County printed out, and stuck with the 1s and 2s with the next, which are really the only things that are being recycled. I can't tell you exactly how much it is, if it's 2 tons at the max or a ton of other stuff that is costing you about $100 a ton to recycle now. It would go into trash, which is roughly $60 a ton.
So on this invoice, you've got $175 on there. Is that just the pickup fee?
That's the whole the roll-out box.
Just to
Right.
come pick it up regardless of what the quantity is in there?
Right, and then the tonnage is charged separate. I'm assuming about 2 tons, that's gonna weigh per load.
Currently, we're paying a fixed rate for the recycle pickup. It's about $500 a month regardless if they're full or empty. Would you be charging a per ton fee
Right.
on that recycling? So we would see some fluctuation based
Right.
upon the quantity in there?
Yeah, they've got a fixed fee for those, containers, but the way that that's getting paid for is, your true if you wanna separate it out, the, per ton cost on the trash is like 109. So, they got a fixed rate on recycling, it's like about $89 per container, 81 for one container and 90 something for the other container, which looks cheap, but if you would break it all out, which I did, they're charging like $109 a ton on the trash. And mine breaks out to, I think it's $60 or $63 a ton on the trash, but then it's more of true cost on recycling, which they're gonna charge me $93 or $95 a ton for that.
Would you be looking at signing a contract with us? Is that what you'd like to do?
Sure, yeah, if you wanna do that, sure, that'd be fine.
Is that typically the way you do business?
Well, yeah, probably do that, we're gonna put some, let's say we were gonna do this, we'd probably put 3-4 containers out there and like to have a little bit of time commitment. But, right now you're looking at possibly a little bit different way of handling stuff, so that would be a discussion item between you and the people that work out at the site.
Roger, what's your feeling?
We're separating that 1 and 2, is that?
We are, them small ones, they get so full, and if we had a larger room with a cover on it, I think that would work out better.
You're gonna be dealing with him more direct than what we will be.
But that's not separating the 1 is 1, 2, just
Well,
putting all
like
of
you
it.
said, everything gets picked up in one truck, right now. And when that one truck picks up the glass, plastic, card paper, it's all
Right.
crushed.
Right.
So really, and I could crush it if our bucket would fit in, but,
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you feel comfortable that this is a step forward for us? Is
I
this,
believe so.
I mean, the difference is that if you separated plastic, is that reasonable to separate 1 and 2 from the 3 through 7? Is that reasonable for having people come in and have that plastic separated? Are they gonna know what it is? I wouldn't, but,
Well,
I mean, they have to get used to it.
it's gonna take, it's an educational process, like I said, I was around when this thing started in 1990, there was a lot of education that went on for a while. And then, things kinda, there was only really markets for the 1s and 2s way back then. And then, as time went on, there was some markets for other stuff, and, the technology came on board probably in the mid-90s to put this stuff together where these facilities would sort it. Early on, there wasn't, so that's why we picked it up separate. Well, then the ability for these facilities to sort it came about, more and more things were, thrown in. And there was some markets for some of those other plastics for a while, but they come and go. But they've been taking a lot of junk for a long time. And one of the major buyers for plastic is China. And it states in that report I handed out in the back that they're just not taking that stuff. And a lot of places have been throwing this stuff away for a long time. But now the capacity to store this stuff and hope that a market's gonna come around is pushing people to just say, we just can't take the junk anymore. We're just gonna take the stuff that we can, market. And so that's something that, if I see coming, and I was told by Advance that's coming too, that they're gonna, the Waste Management takes their stuff and they're gonna start telling them to clean the stuff up too. So, that would be something that I would like to, if we're gonna talk about this, let's just talk about it to the people that come out there right from the start. Like I said, that's right from the Chippewa County website. And I don't know if that's brand new, I suspect it's not very old, that they're just saying strictly 1s and 2s on that literature.
Okay.
One of the, I was over at Elk Mountain to see how theirs was run. They got 3 people working, which makes it easier for them to get rid of stuff that isn't, that's not belong in there. Just one person out there, you can't be at all those stations. So,
That's true.
right now, the town of Wheaton has got it pretty easy as far as getting rid of stuff. They just bring everything out there.
And I guess if I haul the stuff and whoever take it to takes it, I guess it's no big deal, but I'm just saying, this stuff, I've been told that this is coming where they're just gonna start telling everybody to bring stuff in that, you know, we're not gonna do that, so it's just something to think about. I guess, like I said, if I was to do this, I would like to use a 30-yard roll-off box to do it. You know, and right now, their roll-off box is 70 inches tall. I don't know if the people are gonna wanna walk up and throw it, you know, this high. Right now, they're throwing into 8-yard containers about this high. Otherwise, if there's a ability to put a 30-yarder up, you know, along the side of the wall, so like you got the other two, that would make it really easy for the people to throw the stuff in there. Cause I don't have the front load containers. That would be the only thing that I would have to tell you to find a way to deal with.
Do you have any shorter side options?
Yeah, 20-yarders, but right now you're going through about 32 cubic yards a week.
Okay, so that one covered.
Yeah. But, I mean, we could take a look at this and look at trying to do 20-yarders, you'd have to just pull them a little bit more often. But then we start to raise the cost of the program because of the pole charge. So that's why, you know. But, I mean, this is the first time we talked about this. I could go out there, we could look at some things if you're interested and try to find other ways to deal with it.
Okay, well, we'll have to sit down and just go through the numbers and see what's going on with it, so.
Sure.
Roger Moore.
The audience would love to ask a question.
You go ahead.
Has our current contractor been exposed to the fact that you're talking to someone else?
No.
Okay, don't you think that would be a fair way of doing it? That's the way.
At some point, yeah, I mean, yeah, we got it, they need to know it too.
We've been, I did recently sign a contract with the contract and pricing agreement within the last couple of months that guaranteed the current pricing into the next year. So no fluctuations we're going to experience within the next, let's say, 10 months.
Well, I guess the two things I wanted to talk about is what the plastic market looks like and how I would be able to handle what type of container. I mean, that's the two things I want to let you look at. And as far as anything else, it's pretty cut and dried. If you need to get, you know, talk to advance, that's fine. But that's just some information that I wanted to bring to you.
I appreciate that.
Any other questions? Thanks for.
Brian, is there another township that's got something similar to us that I go take a look at?
Well, there's other townships up north that use roll-off containers, but they have like a 3-sided top, and they got these holes about this big around in it. So whatever you push in there, they're sticking them holes. There's no packing it down.
That's what Elton Mouse got right now.
Yeah.
Minong had that at their recycling center, and they got rid of it, and they went to ones like open like we got, because there was such a headache, and they couldn't get them packed down and.
Well, paper
and
don't
stuff.
fit them worth a darn. I mean, they make a little bit bigger hole, but yeah, like I said, you put stuff in there and it's pretty loose. And if you want to pack it down, you can. So, you know, they're expensive containers. So.
Bobby?
Maybe down at the dump, we could make an attachment for that skid steer. If we had an open box like that, where, you know, like a boom would out with a, so you could pack it better.
My opinion
You
is.
have less,
Oh, go ahead. No, I'm sorry.
you would have less hauling charge, you know, you'd have more ton in it, but you would have to empty them less often and.
Well, if you got rid of any amount of stuff that doesn't, you know, 3 through 7s, you would gain some capacity. You probably wouldn't have to even worry about packing it down. You're close now. And I don't know if that's 20 or 30%, but I mean, 3 through 7s is a fairly significant part of the volume, probably 15, 20% of what you got.
What's that?
We'd have to could we make some signs for the public so that we could educate them that we're now only
Well-
accepting number 1 and number 2 plastic?
Well, yeah, but I mean, we need to see if we want to even do that.
Right.
Or keep it in one single stream, which is what
Yeah.
it went 2 years ago with single stream recycling, so.
I have a hard time reading because we do have signs out there and
Monitoring is tough. It always has been.
And
always
reading
will
is?
be.
Yeah. As long as nobody's watching them, they're gonna put her in there.
And another thing that I've noticed that they've done over there is they're throwing 5-gallon buckets in there, they're throwing, other big plastic containers in there, these, plastic water jugs. I seen one guy one day come in there, 4 of them he threw in there. Well, they take up a lot of room real quick, you know, and he had the caps at them so they wouldn't crush down.
Well, if you can get that stuff out of there, it would save quite a bit of room, but how you do that, you know, is, I don't have a really easy answer for that, but, you know, sending people some literature that county, you wouldn't have to design your own. You can just use it, stuff it up the county, and just say, hey, we're gonna stick with this program, this is what you can bring in.
Thanks for coming, Brian.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brian.
Any questions?
Thank you.
Appreciate your time.
Okay.
Okay, any other public comments? Moving on, treasurer's report, got, the balance sheets and we've also got a budget summary there, so everybody's looked at that. Looks like everything on the budget is going well. We have a little bit on because of the plowing last year, kind of, about 3 storms there, ran a bit of money up, but overall, the budget is, we're okay on it. Any questions on that? We'll have to, next month we gotta do a budget planning meeting and we'll get that all scheduled next month, beginning of the month, to schedule budget planning and budget hearings and all of that kind of stuff, so that'll be coming up next month. Okay. No questions? File treasurer's report with the clerk. Fire board report.
Fire board report. On August 20th, 2019, we met at Halley, I'm sorry, and some of the things we covered was the chief for the EMS, Mark Rochelle, for increase in his wage. He hasn't had a wage increase for 3-4 years. It amounted to $2,000 a year approximately for the next 3 years. And it was approved. It was 5-0 on that vote. And then moving on, discuss and act on 2020 budgets. We brought that. They decided to keep it singly for right now to look at the budget for 2020. I don't know if it's going to stay that way or what. We were supposed to bring it back to our town boards to discuss it, and there is an increase.
That's for the combined or not?
That's-
These are gonna be separate, yeah.
They're supposed to be separate. That's what
Yeah.
they wanted to look at it that way first, and I don't know if they're gonna look at it combining them yet or not. So it was supposed to take it to our town boards to see what they thought. There was an increase. I don't know if that's
4% or something.
right. Something like that, it was in that ballpark. I have it somewhere in my piles here. So I guess I would like the opinion of the board here before we take it back.
But we need to keep budgets separate. I don't like that combining them, but
Do we want to go with it? No, I don't either. Howard wasn't for it also. And do we want to approve that 4% increase? I don't. Personally, I think it should stay let them operate on what we operated on this last year. That's my personal feelings. That's up, you guys can make up
what
any.
kind of numbers were you looking at? There was,
EMS alone was like a $17,000 increase, Mark,
for the total.
for
Or
total.
For just Wheaton. That was for.
No, that was for total for the whole district.
Right.
I tucked it in with my
So
other
it's a
stuff.
couple $1,000 for Wheaton.
Yeah, for the EMS part, and the fire part was, well, Dave, you're here. How much did the fire go up?
Just yours and the Gerber one.
Okay, that's fine. I can't lay my hands on it, I'll look for it though, while we're meeting here. 'Cause I had it in with my other stuff for our other meeting. I'm gonna finish my report and then we can always jump back to it if necessary. Okay, discuss and act on the primary 2020 tank program budget, that was approved. That was fine. They discussed on the facility transfer response times and long-distance travel transfers. They decided they're still gonna go do them. And then the next thing was,
Wayne, what was there any added discussion around?
on that, basically, no. Mark Rochelle spoke up and said that they needed to do them and that they needed to help pay for the ambulances and stuff. And it was part of the budget figured in. And they're still gonna do them. They didn't wanna put a mileage on them for any distance. They had, geez, I forget right offhand how many that was over 100 miles. But now a lot of them go Rochester and the cities and they're under 100, they're between the 90 and I think Rochester was 92 miles and I forget what the cities was, somewhere in that same ballpark. And then that figure jumps up more, for transfers. There's transfers going over to Marshfield. There's some transfers going down to Madison, I think Milwaukee. There was one or two involved in that. So I think they claim they're making more money on those longer runs. I don't know. So, okay. And the next thing is the town of Wheaton being with the fire district only for fire service. The town chair, Mr. Staber, he spoke up and he said that he felt that they should table it until a later date, till Wheaton could decide what they wanted to do one way or the other. So it was tabled. So I think that kind of answered our question about that on the spot, because the month before they didn't want to talk about it, wasn't on the agenda, and I understood it. I asked for it to be put on the agenda, then it was tabled the next month. So, and then it was discussed and voted on for employees assistance program because of some of these tragedies that the firemen and the first responders, EMS, are going to. For an example, like the Girl Scouts and these other accidents, these shootings, these stabbings, it's affecting the people. And we did approve to go with Real Living, and the cost of that was $10 per person per year, which was very minor, to have some place that they could call and talk to somebody and whatever, you know. Sometimes you just need to vent and get something off your chest. I thought that'd be a well-spent $10 per month, or per year per person, without a doubt. And then there was a discussion on enclosed rehab trailer unit for hauling UTV. I believe that was for Hallie. And they wanted to buy a temporary trailer to haul it on because they're gonna have a fundraiser and try to build up more money and have an enclosed trailer for the guys to be able to go into, and that would be heated in the wintertime and air conditioned in the summertime and stuff like that. It'd be a dual purpose, and they wanted to know that they could, if they bought this trailer as just a temporary thing, they could turn around, resell it, and put it towards their purchase of the other trailer when they did it, because the other trailer they figure is gonna cost them, I believe it was about $40,000, the figure was given. So, other than that, that's about covers it for the board meeting. They had a couple different programs as far as that, one for the guys to be able to call in on or whatever, and the Real Living was the best one, we felt. Any
The
questions?
combined, I'm not in favor of combining fire and EMS, but the proposal was also at the time to keep them separate, so.
On July
think
9th, we discussed that here at the board meeting?
Yep.
Yeah, because it says the board discussed the request by the Chippewa Fire District to combine the fire and EMS budgets. A motion was made by Bookstrowski to recommend the Chippewa Fire District not to combine their fire and EMS
Right.
budgets. So we've already
Right.
discussed
So
that.
we've done that already.
We did it.
As far as the amounts of increase, Wayne, you gotta look at it, see if that looks something reasonable to you. I don't know exactly, it's a couple of percent.
When I analyzed the fire district dues for the last, let's say, 3-4 years, an increase of 2 to 3% was pretty typical.
Yeah.
Say that again?
An increase of 2 to 3% was normal for the town Wheaton dues to go up. So their
Okay,
budget has increased consistently.
okay.
So,
So you feel 4%'s a little high?
4% is probably a little high, but to keep them at their current level for this year might be unreasonable.
Right.
I know they were held this year at last year's budget, so they're holding at that for this year, so
Our dues did go up this last year, though.
they did?
Yeah, they did.
By how much, do you know offhand?
Again, the average 2 to 3%. Every year our dues.
Budget, here we go, wait a second, I might have it right here.
Yeah, I didn't pay attention to see amount of
Pardon?
I looked on that information you got there, but I don't think that was from something else.
Here, proposed budget for EMS was, just under 414,000. Last year was 397, so it's what, 17,000 increase on that. Now, let's see if I got the fire budget,
That's
was
taxpayer, yeah.
822, it might say 823 last year, and the proposed budget is 832. So you're looking at about a not quite 10, it'd be about 8,
9,000 for fire. and
yeah,
17
9,000 for fire and 17 for EMS.
Collectively, that sounds reasonable. That's reasonable.
Pardon?
It's 1% of the fire.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so I guess that's within reason.
Yeah.
And we keep them separate, so you feel the 4%'s a little,
Yeah.
A little
it's not-
heavy?
That's not what, I mean, them are the numbers that you got, so,
Yeah, collectively, I think that sounds reasonable.
yeah.
so go ahead and approve them, everybody feel?
I would
Yeah.
say,
Yeah,
from a
I think
financial
so.
standpoint, I would say.
Okay.
Yep. What do you guys, I mean,
Bud,
that sounds
got any
reasonable.
opinion?
Yeah.
Okay, that's what
I'm good with it.
I'll relay that on.
Okay, plan commission,
The Wheaton Planning Commission met on September 3rd, 2019. The meeting started at 7 p.m. All of the members were present. Our next Wheaton Planning Commission meeting will be October 1st, 2019. We discussed Austin King, 1 lot for 5 acres, CMS at 6259 90th Street, Chippewa Falls, Wisconsin. It'll be on our agenda here tonight. The motion was approved 7-0. It met all of Wheaton's requirements for a CSM and a 5-acre ordinance. Then we looked at Chapter 11 subdivision control ordinance. We discussed 11.18, another division paragraph. We were looking at that because Chippewa County allows a CMS for 4 lots or less and requires a plat at 5 lots or more. We were just wondering what our subdivision ordinance looked like compared to the county's. And Mr. Patrick Vilfest from Cedar Corp was there, and we worked and finished up now on the survey and cover letter that will be sent out to the public. And he'll have the final copy and the survey and cover letter at our next meeting. And we set the agenda for next month, and that'll be Cedar Corp, and then we're working on a worksheet that will help create for the public so that when they come before the Wheaton Planning Commission with any requests, we'll be able to streamline the process. And we adjourned at 8:11 p.m.
any questions? Moving on, Town Parks Commission. report.
All right, so Parks Commission meeting was Tuesday, August 20th, at the fire station, so, we got a couple of the agenda items, further down, so I'll skip over those items, but, we continue to work on the, town property firewood policy. We're getting closer, on that piece. Some of the ideas that were discussed, were around, since the town guys are generally the ones that are cutting down the trees, whatnot, that the wood would go to the recycling center, and then once a year we could put it out for bid. And it's a opportunity to make it available, and if people could submit their bids, and we'd have a process around that. We obviously need a way to kind of handle, as with the park expansion, there will be trees that will continue to die or need to be addressed, and so that was some of the feedback in there, is by putting that together, we'll kind of have a process in place that could just happen each year. The other items, the park signs, so both the 38th Street and the 40th Street entrance signs are up. So that part has been done. Park security, we've got the cameras installed on the fire station and the lower concession building. Those are up. The cameras that are gonna go out on the post over by 38th Street, those will hopefully be done in the next, not this week, but next week. So Bear Valley will be getting the conduit ran out there, and then they'll come back, Krista Computers will come back and install the the cameras. I've got login accounts set up for town board, fire department, parks, and so we'll be working on we're gonna install the software on the clerk's computer and the laptop, and then they also gave me instructions to set it up on a mobile device, so if there's town board members that want access. So that's moving right along. The irrigation additions between Prairie View and Longview, those will hopefully be done here this week. I think that's what I had requested Nate to have those done by September 15th. So that we got a little bit of operational time before we do our shutdown, so we know everything works.
Was that the bid for 1,200?
Yeah, 1275.
Was that materials and all, or?
Yep. Yep. Yeah, they had called Diggers Hotline and they were out there marking, so that's the last piece of that. We're continuing to look at some different security camera options for the boat landing and over on that park expansion. So obviously we don't have any power, and so we're looking at some other options, like a deer cam type of thing for those. So one of the other items we were starting to talk about with the park expansion, we got the different trails in there, so Parks Commission is taking up, starting to kind of come up with putting some names to the trails. And so as we, have our map that lays out, here's where all the trails are, we can associate a name to those. And so as people are, I went out and I, was on this trail, we can give them a little bit more context behind some of the different trails where they go in that park expansion. So
Can I ask a question? Are those gonna be for walking only, or are those gonna be able to have bikes ridden on them too?
you can pretty much walk, you could ride a bike on it, you can do snowshoeing,
Okay,
cross country ski.
I just had a couple of people ask me, that's why
Yeah.
I'm asking.
Yeah. So, if anybody has any ideas, we're certainly open to that, so. Then park ornamentation, project donations, we had our first 2 trees as part of that project, and those trees have been planted down in the park, so some really nice maple trees, so. And then park rentals, coming up here this weekend, should be the last rental, unless something else comes in here towards the end of the month. But overall, things went really well. And then the last piece for landscaping maintenance bidding for the 2020-2021 season, the Parks Commission just brought up, we'll separate irrigation from the mowing, and handle them separately as part of that. So our meeting was adjourned 8:32. And then one other piece I had, just to kind of show you. So we did, out there, if you went to Google Maps, we actually added the 40th Street entrance. So there's a little tag feature there that, if somebody goes out and they're on Google Maps and are like, type in Wheaton Park, it will show them both the 38th Street entrance and the 40th Street entrance and how to get there. So this was some of the, feedback. Maybe not everybody's familiar with everything in Wheaton, and with the sledding hill and whatnot, and so we got a lot of questions that came up. Hey, where is the sledding hill, whatnot? So so this was just another piece that is out there.
Is there gonna be a sign put up down there on 40th Street saying that is Wheaton Park?
Yeah, it's up.
It's
Oh, it is
there.
up now?
It's up
Okay.
there.
I haven't gone down 40th for a
Yep.
while.
So
Okay, any other questions or comments? Okay, website updates, changes and additions.
I guess just the only piece we had, so we do have that section for the annual meetings, so anytime that we do have public hearings, that's a section where those public hearing notices are going in there, plus we do a, under the news and notices section, we also post the public hearings in there too, as well, so we're kinda putting it in both places, you know, keep people informed when those pieces come up, so.
Doing a good job on that, Kim, thanks.
Okay, anything else on that? Go on to updates on the groundwater, anything that,
I think I told
Amen.
everybody here that 16 of the 22 kits was turned in from when I was here at the town hall. And the nitrate map should be ready before next month. And then I'll have a copy of all of the results from the kits. And at that time, I'll make copies of that if anybody would like it. So I'll have the nitrate map hopefully by next month for everyone.
we can put that on the website
Yeah, we could do that too.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
somewhere. I mean, we should get that, have a section for that. that
For groundwater.
thing. I'm
Yep.
backing up here, but.
Sure, I'll make a note. Thank you. That's all I have.
Okay, review land issue presented by William Nelson at the corner of 65th and 35th. Issue's been resolved. The town's got a right of way across it, and that's all there is. And they recorded everything already, and he wanted no money for it, he just wanted it taken care of, so he's good.
Okay.
He called me, said everything was good.
So did he donate the land then, or
Yep.
just? Oh, he
It's
did.
for the right of way, yeah, so we've got a right of way through across there and everything now, so they were recording all of that, the way he said, so.
Good.
We didn't have to, he said it wasn't worth even talking about anymore, he was just gonna leave it go. That's the way it was, that's the way it's gonna stay, so,
Mhm.
Good.
so that issue's done. Okay, on the new business. Review, discuss, act on information presented by the committee in the matter of town Wheaton staying with the Chippewa Fire District or giving notice of leaving the district. What does the board need? What information you guys need more? What do you wanna do?
I think we need to move forward. If you need a motion, I'll make a motion that,
I have a right to,
What do you want?
I want to go up and get some information.
What's that?
I want to go up and discuss some information.
That's what the public hearing is for. This is a town board meeting at this point. I
Yeah.
wanna know if the town board,
I can take the time to discuss this, because it says right here that when we come to a point on the agenda, if anyone needs to discuss it, they can do it.
like I said, this is a board meeting, Herb, and you know that it is. And now, what I wanna know is if any board members need, what information do you guys need? It's more than happy to get you whatever information anybody needs to make an educated vote on this. So what do you guys need to have, you want Herb to present information? Have you heard enough information? You need more stuff collected? This is a board decision.
I don't need any more.
I'm fine with the information that's been presented to me. I've had 4 months of listening, and I've listened.
Then I'm not gonna get up there, but I wanna make one comment. This is the letter that I wrote concerning all the information I was gonna discuss here tonight. This letter goes out to everybody in the town of Wheaton, and it will discuss everything that we discussed the other day about not having a budget, not knowing if we're gonna have good service, and all those other things. So if you don't wanna hear about it, you will read it.
Like I said, what do you guys want?
Make a motion. You make a motion.
What's the?
Let's see what they say.
I think, Well, first off, I wanna thank the people that were on the committee, you know, for their efforts. You know, they didn't, maybe necessarily, you know, want to fill that time with that, but certainly it, was greatly appreciated, around that, so. Obviously, there's a wealth of information, you know, that, you know, has been coming out. You know, from my perspective, I'm kinda curious to see, you know, we got our budget discussions next month. You know, I'm curious to see what the fire district's gonna do, since they seem to be waiting to determine what we're going to do in order to let us know. I mean, contractually, they could go one of three different ways, you know, and obviously, depending on which option they choose, will, you know, could impact us one way or another, budget-wise. So, you know, from that perspective, you know, we decide to go, we got a lot of work in front of us in a short amount of time. And,
Yeah, we got 15 months to get everything together.
Right.
That's what we got.
and we're contractually bound by law to provide these services.
Yep.
You know, so, you know, those are, I won't say necessarily concerns. You know, obviously the committee couldn't get, you know, to that level, you know, but as we've seen, I mean, you can have, you know, if you have 10 more volunteers and we have to outfit those volunteers with gear, that's $30,000. That can swing a budget real quick, you know, one way or the other. So, you know, those are some pieces that, you know, I've looked at Elk Mountain's budget, you know, for what they're doing, and obviously they, you know, they've got a good budget there. You know, they've got buildings and stuff where for us we've got separate line items, you know, for that. But you know, there definitely is I think some pieces that we maybe just don't have nailed down exactly what those pieces are going to be. You know, we've heard different numbers as far as, you know, truck costs, different things. That's going to depend on what availability is. It's going to depend on, you know, is it going to have everything that the firefighters want on it?
Yeah, right, and I mean, this is, like Dean said the other night, it causes a lot of anxiety, and it does for everybody that's ever tried, you know, done anything like this. It was a lot of anxiety to form the fire district.
Yep.
It was a lot of anxiety when as people left it. Does it change anything? I don't know. I mean, through the history of it is that the Elk Mountain Fire is doing just fine, and they take care of more people in more area than what Wheaton is. And you know, here's the way I look at this. The people that were put on the board were definitely people not involved with the fire department, except for Andrew. And and Andrew was put on there because they wanted somebody from the fire department, and so Andrew volunteered to do it. All the rest of the other people on it had nothing to do with the fire department. They looked at it. They collected what information they wanted. I stayed out of this completely because I wanted that committee to decide what they needed to do. Whatever they decided is fine with me. And they did a really good job. They asked all the questions they needed to ask. The information, things like how much is all this gear going to cost? Yeah, it's going to cost something, but it's costing us that anyway. Except now we're paying a percentage for the entire fire district. We just have to pay for our own. Right now, we're paying actually more than the amount of gear that we have. So, there's lots of ways of looking at that, but, the board, the committee did a really good job of collecting all of this and trying to get the information. They asked everybody, they talked to everybody, they had extra meetings to get everything answered. 8 meetings from May to September is a lot of work. They spent hours every time and spent hours in the time between the meetings. They collected all this information. I wanted to say for Mr. Steinmetz was allowed a lot of latitude during the public hearing, way more than any 5 minutes. He was on the fire board. Herb, be quiet.
Here we go.
He was on the fire board, and that's one of the reasons he was allowed. I mean, he deserved to have some time because he was on the board. He was on the fire board. He had firsthand knowledge of some of the workings of the fire board, including in closed sessions, items that were brought up in the fire district. Mr. Steinmetz was also a staunch opponent of the fire district last year. We've got it on, Herb, I told you to be quiet. If you, Herb, if you speak up again, you're gonna be asked to leave, and you will leave. This is a board meeting. I'm not talking to you, I'm talking to the board. So, he's been a staunch opponent. He was a staunch opponent of the fire district. It's in the records. The questions he brought up are legitimate questions. The thing is that all of the questions that he brought up the other night have been answered by that committee. That entire list that he was going off of, the committee went through and answered everyone and discussed every one of those points. They're the ones who looked at it. They went through all the costs, distributions, organization, requirements, so SPS 330 and 314, which is all of the firefighting equipment and what you have to do for fire safety and all of that stuff, and what the anticipated cost for Wheaton to operate that. They based it on other fire departments that are similar to ours, and that's all there's. I mean, they worked on information. This is not something that's come up here in the last 2 weeks, we've got some people here, and Mr. Steinmetz is one of them. I'll send a letter out. Well, go ahead and send it out to all the people, because this has been talked about for 2 years now. It's been talked about longer than that. And we've gone through around and around and around with this. We need to do something. And I'm going to tell you right now, I had no desire to get out of the fire district. I've been in it for a long time myself. It wasn't that I want to get out of it. The problem that I have right now is that the board, or the committee that examined all of this as neutral, unbiased members, came up with a vote that was unanimous to get out. And that says something to me. We've tried for years to get all these budgets balanced. They have not been. And the fire district was not able to really get that all pinned down for the committee. They tried to get it. Mr. Gooch was adamant about getting these numbers, and he just couldn't. And he was not happy with that. I can tell you, staying is the easiest way. For me especially, the easiest thing for me to do is to stay with the fire district and leave the destiny up to someone else. Let them, and just pay them the money. But takes away all of our right to say anything, because we are such a small entity in it. Is it some anxiety in it? You bet. you bet. It's really an anxiety-filled decision. For me, it's really is. But, you know what, I'm supporting the committee, and they did what they had to do. They were given direction to decide to stay or to go, depending on what they found. Not what I said, not what any other individual said, didn't matter who said what. They were appointed to do that. That committee, consisting of 2 police officers who are used to investigations and finding information and discerning what's truth and what's not, and how much of fact is fact and how much of it is what you believe. It's hard to argue with that. I find that extremely difficult to say that I would dismiss their opinions, because if they had said, absolutely stay with them, what are you guys, crazy? Of course you want to stay with them. Or if they would have just said, yeah, we think that it's better to stay, I would be voting with them. I would be voting with that. But they're saying to go. I feel like it's scary as can be, because just making sure we have the money, the budgets. But Elk Mound has run a fire department with more people in a bigger area for half of what we're paying on ours right now. There's lots of fire departments that are running on, that are our size. The thing is that the village of Lake Hallie and the town of Lafayette are not the town of Wheaton anymore. They used to be. They were rural barns, farms. When the fire district was started, we were all pretty much similar. But they outgrew us. They really do need a different type of service than what we're still really rural. Now, 20 years from now, that may be different. We may be doing the same thing again, but right now, I just don't see us being that. I mean, we're so different. We don't need the same kind of equipment. We don't need the same kind of people. We're just way different. Now, the one caveat to all of this is that the Eau Claire chief said that he can't answer whether he's not going to be able to answer what the city council is going to say. So he has to go before them. And I think that, whatever the decision is, that's going to play into it. I mean, if they're not providing EMS, we're not going to be able to provide. We're not providing EMS ourselves. I mean, we don't have the time to set that up in 15 months. So that's a big caveat for leaving the district. Really, is making sure that we have the EMS. I think we can cover the fire, but EMS is an issue that needs to be solved. But then they should know on the 24th. So that's all I got.
They need our before they can take it to the town, City of Eau Claire committee. Same with Chippewa Falls. They make their final decision. They have to know we're serious about this. I'm gonna speak. Ken, you brought it up about budget, and there's concerns, and we kicked that around several times. And what we came up with is there'd probably have to be a loan taken out, for a short-term loan for 3 to 5 years, whatever, to help purchase some of this equipment to get us going. And we suggested, and at the hearing I brought it up, of the same amount as what we're paying the district right now, going the kitty. So it isn't, but only give like 75, 80,000 for a normal budget or whatever figure we come up with to operate the fire station. And we realize this equipment's gonna be you know, more than that. And then they're gonna have to come to the, if we create a fire board or the town board, for approval to take that extra money up to that they got set, we have set aside for them to use to buy that equipment. We got 14 firefighters right now. If we go, even if we went to 20, that's $60,000 total for gear for the guys. And we understand that. A lot of stuff like the Hearst and stuff like that, they said you can pick up used without any problem, good shape. Fire trucks, there's 3 fire trucks sitting in our station right now are over 20 years old. So I mean, as far as value-wise, there's not a lot of value there at all. And we can pick up those trucks pretty reasonably, and then we can start applying for the grants. But that's, then out of that budget, the loan payment would have to come back. You wouldn't have a payment on that loan for at least a year, I take it. And that would have to come out of that budget too. So that's where we were coming from on that.
But part of our, just so we're on the same page,
Mm-hmm.
we decide to get out, we give our 15 months. We do have to have some money in next year's budget to pay, at some point in time, we have to have trucks in the building to be able, come January 1st of 2021, to be able to provide those services, which means we will have to
Well,
procure.
that would be for the 2021 year though.
That would,
That would be next year for the following year, not next year, not
So we
2020
would-
budget.
that would be the purpose of the loan, is so we could
Yeah,
buy
would
that
be-
equipment.
That would be how we'd have to do that.
But we would,
Something
the
like that.
equipment would have to show up.
And grants, you're right, and then they can apply for the
Right,
grants.
right, and that equipment does have to show up before, you have to order it, and-
Right.
or whatever.
Or wherever we're gonna
buy
procure
or
it from,
Procure it from something.
would have to
I
show
didn't
up
say it
before.
was easy, I
Right,
said it was,
Oh, yeah.
it's a lot of work.
correct.
There
And that's,
are
that's,
people-
that's all I'm getting
There are
at.
people that have said they will step up and help. There's
Yeah.
people that said they will do fundraisers to help raise money to get gear and equipment. You know, we've got businesses in town that are willing to help. But, you know, like I said, the easy thing is to stay in it for us and just pay the money. That's what people want, you know, what everybody wants to do.
No, don't take,
So,
you know, I've not been a fan of the, you know, how the EMS is handled and the fact that, you know, we're in the red and we're not making the appropriate decisions to make sure that we're operating in the black, you know, on that. It requires hard decisions, much like what we're sitting here today,
right,
having to make a
Absolutely.
decision. I think, you know, if you were operating in a balanced budget type of form, it's a different conversation. But we've watched this continue to operate year after year after year of not being there, and then having to take action as a board to say, don't combine the two, just shows that we're not, that situation's never gonna change.
right.
It's just gonna continue. You know, you know, from my concerns, it's just making sure that, you know, how those things are gonna pan out with the budget. I mean, just like this year, we had a lot more snow plowing than we ever expected. You know, and I'm sure, you
It's
know,
not, I didn't say it was easy, yes, it was, go ahead.
I'm gonna take a little different tack on this, and I have nothing but respect for Wayne and the committee. And after hearing the committee speak last week, you can see how thoroughly they discussed this and how long it took them to come to. But as most of you know, in my years as a board member, I've been a fierce advocate of the people of the town of Wheaton, of letting them at least have their word. And I don't know if that was the correct thing. I'm sure he didn't have any points that would change the opinion. It certainly wouldn't change mine. But on the other hand, I'm an advocate of letting the people in the town speak. And I know we had plenty of time, and I was not looking forward to having another 45-minute dissertation on what the committee did wrong. because I'm in complete agreement with them, but that is my pet rock, is
Yeah.
I think the people in the township, I think he should have been able to state his, and if he's gonna send a letter out, so be it. You'll get input from the town, and I don't think that'll hurt anymore. So that will have a great deal of bearing on my vote.
I think financially, the town is in an excellent position to make this move. I've estimated that the town will save a minimum of $50,000 over the fire district dues annually. More than likely, it's higher than that. And what my financial plan would be is to take that $50,000 and use that to pay off the loan that we were going to take out next year to buy equipment. And we're used to right now paying $200,000 for EMS and fire service. And if we continue to use that $200,000 for the next 3 or 4 years, that's still in the budget, and we have the money to do that. And once we're established and all the loan is paid, we're gonna see significant financial gains by exiting the fire district and doing these services on our own. I don't question it for 1 minute. Financially, the town will be better off. This is not a 2 or 3 year plan. This is a 10-year plan. Where are we at in 10 years? In 10 years, we will have more money to serve our residents than we currently do. I don't question it for 1 minute.
Well, I'm gonna take a much simpler approach to this. First, I'd like to thank Wayne's committee. I think that they did an excellent job. Before I make my announcement, I would just like the Wheaton firefighters and the residents of the town of Wheaton to know that I base my decision on listening to the facts over the past 4 months. As a member of the Wheaton Planning Commission, we have to be the visionaries, and at the moment, we're reviewing the comp plan, so we're looking ahead for 20 years. My decision that I've made about this business of leaving the fire district is based on what I think is the best for the future of the town of Wheaton, just as Scott had mentioned. My mother was a political activist. There weren't computers in her age. She had to handwrite everything. And she also, would go down to the courthouse and talk to the city council. And as a young lady, I would go with her. And Mom would say to me, Alice, real leaders are ordinary people with extraordinary determination. And that's what I think that this board is. I think that we're just ordinary people who are real leaders with extraordinary determination. I don't think that if the vote goes to leave the district, that we will have any problems in the next 15 months. Because I think that we're very determined to do it. We're not determined to lose. Wayne and I just attended a seminar where a lady gave us a really good pep talk, and she just fell back on the old will, where there's a will, there's a way. I would be willing to help the fire department in any way possible if the vote goes to leave the district. I'm very good at fundraising. I've done that over the years, and I'd support it 100%. So actually, that's really how simple it is. We're just ordinary people who make exceptionally good leaders with exceptional determination.
Yeah, Bud, and I think Herb had all the same points that he had the other night.
No
so.
question, but assuming he wanted to speak again, he had some new ones. And as leader, as Alan says, we are leaders, but we still have to take into consideration what the people of the town of Wheaton want. Because they elected us doesn't mean they want everything we say. So I thought perhaps that by him stating this, he possibly shut up after that, or send out the letter. But I didn't think he should. I think he should have been allowed to speak.
I asked, but.
Yeah, but you guys.
It doesn't matter. It didn't matter to me. I wasn't going to sit here and listen to her.
I understand. I understand,
an hour
Mark. I understand.
Of the same stuff he did the other night. I don't need that. Now, if he had something new and somebody wanted to hear it, that's fine with me too. I asked, but that's okay. we can move on. We gotta do something here. Let's-
Yeah,
let's
no,
make-
I understand your position, and I would assume he would have something new if he was willing to speak about it. I don't think he'd hammer on the same old questions. I assume he's done some more research since our last meeting, and not saying it would have swayed my opinion one single way.
Yeah.
But that kind of, I've been an advocate of the people, wanting to know what the people, and I've been told time and time again that I'm a leader, and good leaders lead, not from you, from other people, from other board members in years past, that good leaders lead, and I'm in total belief of that. But I'm also want to think that the good leaders have all the information they need to base their opinion on it.
Right, and that's why we had a committee that.
Did you go to
examined that,
one
so-
committee meeting? Did you go to one fire board
Well,
meeting?
Yeah, but that's why we had him, so, I mean, and
That's
you
why we
heard the
have the
reports.
hearings.
Bud heard the reports, though. He's got the
Sure,
reports.
and I also already told you, I respect Wayne
Right.
and the committee, and after hearing the committee speak, I could hear they're extremely dedicated, did a lot of research.
Yep.
And you will know, my only pet rock is I think
Yep.
people should have been able to hear. So that has nothing to do with whether my opinion.
Right.
Our decision didn't come lightly, it came very,
Wayne, I know that.
know,
I-
it
Did you
just-
make a motion?
we were doing what was best. We felt the decision we made was best for all the people in the township.
Let's move on here, so.
Okay.
You want to make a motion? We were going to.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we should move forward, and I'd like to make a motion to follow the recommendation that the committee, the research committee gave the town board.
To leave the fire district.
And that recommendation was to the town board to negotiate EMS services with the city of Eau Claire and Chippewa Falls. And this will end the contractual agreement with the Chippewa Fire District and establish our own fire department.
Need a second?
I'll second it.
I got one caveat to that, is that this year has to be with the approval of the EMS from the city of Chippewa Falls.
Right. And the final of Eau Claire too, yeah.
In the city of Eau Claire
And
and the city of Chippewa.
Providing that those two can provide those
Right.
services.
That's correct.
you want that amended that way?
Yes.
You got that, Scott?
All right, I'll read it back here in just a moment.
Okay.
Wayne makes a motion to negotiate with the city of Eau Claire and the city of Chippewa Falls for EMS service and for the town of Wheaton to create our own fire department, as long as the city of Chippewa Falls and the city of Eau Claire accept our EMS service.
Right, right. And we would hope that that would happen before the end of this month, so we would be able to give a definitive answer to the Chippewa Fire District.
Right. We have to give notice by the 1st of October.
Yep.
Registered letter. So,
Everyone's comfortable with that wording?
Yes,
yeah,
Yeah.
I am.
yes.
Okay, roll call.
Mark Blaskowski,
Aye.
Wayne Miller,
Aye.
Al Ostrowski,
Aye.
Ken Books,
Aye.
Bud Beckel.
Nay.
Motion carried. Okay, we'll get that written up. Review, discuss bartender licenses, if any. Any this month?
I had one, the person had a clean record. I recommend that the board approve that.
Make a motion, we approve the bartender license.
I'll second.
Motion made and seconded, all in favor? Signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Review, discuss, act on 2020 Chippewa County Humane Society contract. How much is it?
Went up by, the rate offered is $1.15 per person, an increase of 1 cent per person over last year.
1%, you said?
1
cent.
1
1
cent per
Oh,
person.
oh,
1
let's say-
cent,
Let's
okay.
say $30.
I'll make a motion
Okay.
that we accept the 2020 Chippewa County Humane Association contract.
Second?
Motion made and seconded to accept the Humane Association contract. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Review, discuss, act on boat landing improvements approved by the Park Commission. DNR permit will be required to extend concrete into the river.
Yeah, so, this one, I got a couple pictures. If you pull up the top view. So what we've been basically looking at doing is, extending. So right now you can kind of see there the 18-foot mark, is where we currently are. We would extend further out into the river. Basically, what we have happen right now is that riprap continues to get eroded away, and so what happens, that creates basically when the river is low, you can't get your trailer into the river far enough. They end up backing off the edge of the concrete, and then they tear their boat axle out, usually when they're trying to come back out. So we've been working on this one. Basically, it would extend that concrete further into the river, and kind of more at a angle, so that you would basically back straight in versus kind of that curve that happens right now. There's one big tree that sits there. That tree would come out.
So you're extending it out 22 feet?
Yeah.
Just curious, Ken, and nothing to do with it, but how do they do that? Do they drop the water level?
So there's a couple different ways. I was talking to the city engineer over in Chippewa Falls, because they were looking at doing something similar. And so basically, you try to coordinate it with them when they are going to drop the river levels, and that's the most opportune time. But the other way, they basically, the way that they've explained it to me, they'll pour the slab on the main ground. Then you push that in, then they'll pour the next slab, and you tie the two slabs together, and then you'll push that piece in.
I see, okay.
As part of it. That's basically how they would do it. When I talked to the city of Chippewa Falls, because they have something very similar that they had done up for Erickson Park, and he shared kind of what they were doing there. It's very similar way of going about it, so.
Makes sense.
But as part of this, it would require us to basically fill out a permit. They call it a waterway general permit, and that's like $303. And don't believe there's any other additions to that, but that's what I got off of from the Department of Natural Resources. You can, you need that before you can do anything. And at this point, this would more than likely be a spring of 2020, basically 2020 project that we would be looking at doing. So, kind of give some estimated costs. The low end is, we've seen around, it'll be anywhere between 18 and 30,000 is probably where the range is going to be that we expect the bids. So that's kind of where we're at on that one. But obviously, it's something that we don't want to apply for a permit if we don't feel like it's something that we want to even entertain as part of that, so.
Okay, so that we'd have to put into the budget
Correct.
next year, in
Yeah.
October or whatever. I mean, that would be part of the
Yeah.
recommendation, but. I see a lot of people, there's an awful lot of people do use that. And the more you improve it, the more people use it, the less
Yep.
trouble you have.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
you don't have the homeless people intending is to live there as often if you get more usage, so. Not that, we probably need a place for these homeless people, so they aren't homeless,
Yeah.
but not the boat landing. I mean, it's just not a good place for them,
Right.
so.
So those are, that's basically what we have for that one. Would require a permit to be filed with the DNR, and they got a whole, we have to give them drawings, much like what we have. They'll review it, they'll let us know if there's, any other additional pieces we have to, so we'll need all those approvals before we'll be able to start on the work, so.
Okay, any other discussions? Nothing to act on really, just kind of see what we're gonna do with the budget and see how we can get it to fit in there with everything else that we need to do too, so. Okay. Moving on, review, discuss, act on tennis court, south side fence addition. Didn't know you wanted to put a fence on that south side.
Yeah. So this one I got a nice little picture too. Okay, so this basically is showing where we would add the fence. We put a 12-foot gate on the one corner. That'd be wide enough so that we could Adam could still get his tractor in there, or whoever is going to volunteer to plow off the ice skating rink. It's got a nice cab tractor, so we should put it to good use during the winter. So, but so that'd be a 12-foot gate, two 6-foot swinging sections. They would swing out, and basically be able to swing up against the fence. So, and then a 3-foot just walk gate on the other end. This would connect to the, there is a small short section already on the south side on both ends. We're just attaching to that existing stuff. The posts would go right next to the pavement. I told them I didn't want any of the posts going through the existing pavement, so it'd be right next to it. And then again, this would give us a structure to attach when we put the liner up for the ice skating rink. So then it'll make it a lot easier, for the firefighters if they choose to continue to do that. But we don't have to pound those posts in, stakes in, and
Yeah. The only problem is that I got is that this kids sliding down that hill sometimes go into that across they can go fast enough at certain times to go across it, but across the
I would prefer them to see the 4-foot fence than the ice skating rink that they don't know how deep the how thick that ice is.
That's kind of a screwy little detail right there. I guess I'm not. Yeah. How much is the fence?
So we had 3 bids. We were recommending Reither fence was $23.79 to do the section in yellow. That's what the Parks Commission recommended.
And who was that?
Reither fence.
Reither, okay.
Got them within $100. Within $80.
Yeah. So Reither is
You want a fence there?
they're the ones that are doing the cages down there too. So
They
he's already he will already be on site doing the other work down there.
So do you want fences there in case you want to put
Before we decide, if you don't mind, I couldn't leave without saying I have a humorous aspect to that. 30-some years ago, and I was a newbie on the Plan Commission, and the only one that wasn't a farmer, but I was heavy into T-ball, and they didn't have a north fence up. And that ball would hit that, if it hit that blacktop, it'd roll all the way down to the backstop. And I tried to explain that to those guys. Well, they're going to bring it up at the next meeting, and they did. Joe Osmond stood up and said, well, we decided that it'd be a lot easier to buy you a dozen balls than to put up a fence.
Want a couple dozen balls?
I don't have any balls over by then.
Buy a couple extra sleds, huh?
Right.
Yeah, I don't know, that has always been and the sliding, that basketball hoop is right in a really bad spot. And
Right.
it's probably better off
Right.
if you had a fence for them to run into, it's a little bit softer
Yeah.
than,
Would be no different than when they run into the fences in baseball, when they say, I think I got it, I think, oh, wait, there's that contraption that will stop me from getting it.
Is this gonna be coming out of this year's budget or next year's budget?
Yes, this year's budget. There is money in the parks,
Yeah,
outlay
we've got-
to cover it.
yeah,
Okay.
we've got money
So.
in that yet. So the money's there. I make a motion that we approve the fence for 2379.
Second.
Motion made and seconded, to approve the 2379 for the Reither fence, for the south fence. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Review, discuss, act on CSM for 5-acre lot. I make a motion, we approve that. There's no reason to not approve it.
I'll second
It's
it.
7.
And you've been sitting here all this time waiting for us, haven't you?
Quiet, I didn't
I
even
mean,
know who he was.
there isn't anything.
You wanna bring it up though, just so, on the screen, please, so that they can see it?
The signature on that CSM, Alice, did we get that straightened out? I mean, I've been signing CSMs just
You have it
because-
made out though for the town clerk,
No,
Oh,
it
you
doesn't matter to
did?
me.
Your ordinance says the clerk shall cause it to sign.
and we always have Mark, so if anything's wrong, you know? There it is.
I was doing it because were putting my name on, telling me to sign it, so I did. I don't know.
Who's this at, Alice?
This is on 90th Street, 6259
Well, they're written out
90th.
to me.
It's part of a 40. There's an old house there. He's gonna
Okay.
rip the house down. There was nothing, it's a 5-acre ordinance. CSM was fine, everything was fine. 7-0, we voted go ahead. It's
Okay.
part of that 40 parcel.
All right, right,
So-
it meets all the ordinances.
So
So I make a motion that we allow the CSM.
I'll second it.
Ken already seconded it.
Oh, yeah, all right.
And- Okay.
You wanna bring it
all
up
in-
here for him to sign then?
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. And if it says the clerk shall, if that's what ours says, then let the clerk sign it. I don't care. Yeah, that's okay.
I think he put both of your names, yours
No, I
and-
just did one with each, just one,
Oh,
one with the chair.
Just to be safe?
Yeah, I gotta sign both.
doesn't matter.
Whatever the
Well, then
ordinance
if there's
says.
something wrong, and we can just go to him.
Review, discuss, act on the sale of 13 panels to the township of Wheaton from Scott Morris for the recycling center fence.
Up there, please, thank you.
Came before the town board, I think it was about 2 years ago,
Have a good one.
regarding a refuge problem.
Thank you.
My property borders the town, the old town dump. And at that time, I let you know that it's getting a lot of garbage blowing on my property. As the township grows, so grows the amount of garbage that we're taking in over there at the transfer station. It's not unusual at all for those dumpsters to be totally overpacked. Not just the dumpsters, but the construction dumpsters, the 30-yard ones too. The spring of the year is the worst for me. I clean it up every spring. In the wintertime, it's like a wind sail. Paper cups, plastic bags, Walmart's the number one. Cardboard, pieces of fiberglass, milk cartons, plastic pop bottles, you name it, it gets over there, especially in the spring. And I usually, towards the fall, I pick it up again. I asked Mr. Miller to take a ride in my woods and my trail, and he was pretty astounded at the amount of garbage that was there. That was back in about August 1st.
That was after he'd already cleaned it up. And
Yeah,
there
I
was,
cleaned
there was a
up
lot
every year.
already there again.
But once that garbage comes into the transfer station, the township owns it. And I don't wanna make a huge issue out of this. I wanna be a good neighbor. I live in the township. I enjoy the township. But I think the town board has a ethical as well as a legal obligation to control your garbage. And, so I proposed at that time to put up some type of a fence or barrier so that stuff doesn't blow out there. It's not just when people come on Wednesdays and Saturdays to put it in there. It's like this morning at 6 o'clock in the morning, when they come over there with those trucks. They take those 8-yard dumpsters, they put them in their truck. That's not a direct chute into those. And if it's windy, and if they're over full, stuff blows out. And the wintertime is the worst. I gave up my hobby farm. I learned after 7 years of raising bull calves and chickens that farming was too much work for me.
So you're hard-headed too. Took you 7 years.
My wife grew up on a farm, and I basically did that for her. But I had bought 135 feet of construction-grade fencing, cyclone fencing. I bought it from Hayworth Fencing. And most all the panels are 10 and 12-foot length. They're the type of panels that they put around construction sites to keep people out and debris out and that type of thing. With the exception of 2 panels that are a little shorter, they've got gates in them so you can pass through. But otherwise 135 feet. I paid $1,360. I'm really motivated to stop the garbage from coming over to my place. I'm willing to sell all that fencing to the town board for $485, including all the hardware. I would estimate it would take Lenny and I and Matt probably half an hour to take it down. I would also volunteer my time to put it up at the transfer station. I'm pretty motivated. And I'll just chalk that off as community service. I think one advantage of this fencing is it's a little more heavy duty, and it's still could be portable at some time in the future. So with that, if you have any questions, but that's the issue.
The only thing we'd have to do is, by post, to go at the end of the sections, to put one post in to fasten the 2 ends to, across there.
I've used mine for my fencing, my other fencing that I've got, but Wayne is talking about putting a post at the end of every section to make it stable. I put every other section, but.
Yeah, you've got clamps, clamp
There's
sections.
Okay.
You've got clamp
And
to
then- yes.
the sections together.
Yes.
So if we had even another $100 on the fence post, it'd be more than, it shouldn't be even that much, but
Oh, I should say one other thing.
there is a lot of garbage there, I will admit that.
Yeah. I used to have my grandkids pick it up, but now they're grown, gone from college, and I can't motivate them to do that anymore. But I do have one of those pickers, you know, it's like this. If your budget's tight this year, you can pay me in January. That's fine too. I want to make that as harmless as possible.
I don't think that budget's getting any easier.
I make a motion, we purchase them.
Yes, I'll second that.
Motion made and seconded to purchase the fencing and take Mr. Morris up on his deal that he's gonna help the town guys put it up. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Wayne, I think you told me
Motion
you'd
carried.
volunteer too.
I did. I will come over and
Like that on
help.
the record.
$485, correct? Yes?
I'll be more than happy to come over and help.
Review, discuss, yeah, we got, money's in the budget for it.
Because after I seen the mess you have there, Scott,
Who seconded
yes,
that?
something's gotta be done.
But, secondly.
It's a mess.
Review, discuss, act on the possibility of 3 security cameras for the town hall. One on the front where we'll put the night depository, one on the corner of the hall, and one on the north side of the building. So, should we be looking into that?
I thought it was a good idea, seeing we're gonna have a night depository here. I thought as long as you already were working with Krista, sorry about that, that maybe you could work up something for, one here, one on the corner over there, and one over here on the side. I don't know, I think we've been really lucky. I mean, I know there's a solid metal door there, a solid metal door there.
Yeah,
But
it's
it
easy to get
could,
in
it would
the
be
building
easy to
if you
get
wanted
into
to.
it. I mean, I guess I just thought we were really lucky. We haven't had anything happen. And as long as we put, how many cameras did we put at the fire station? 6?
When it's all done, it's 11 total.
Wow, yeah,
Do
so,
we possibly need one inside?
Inside camera?
I just thought
I
it
don't
would
know. You
be,
need to know who is
We could always
in and out.
maybe check with them and have it so we could always add a camera to it if we needed to.
Yeah.
would you mind looking into that, to have 3 of them? Does that sound good, 3 of them? For
I
here
mean,
and on
3,
the corner
yeah,
and
get
then
one down at that end where people can drive around.
That's it, and then
Yeah.
one over on this side over
Right,
here?
right, which looks back down that way
Yeah.
to the east.
Yeah.
Could
Yeah, you really want it to, you would prefer to have the cameras so that they're also kind of watching the entry points.
Right,
Of
here,
the building,
Right.
you know what I
on the
mean?
corner in here.
So you might want something down, watching
Maybe
that
that way,
one.
pointing this way or one
You know,
pointing
you
that
would,
way.
you would do, you'd
You might have
you'd
2
have
on the
one,
front.
correct, you'd have one camera going one way, one camera going the other way, so that if you lost a camera, you still had a view.
Okay,
You know what I
Right,
mean,
right.
versus,
Yeah, maybe 2 on the front and 1 on the back and 1 on that end
Yeah.
down there that's watching the road. And then one of them is gonna be seeing the vehicles coming in the road.
you know.
And now you're up to 4.
Okay, well, let's get that checked on.
Would you
see
do
how
that,
much
Ken?
That would be.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, moving on, review, discuss act on the placement of additional 45-mile-per-hour signs on 20th Street. And any other measures that can be taken to control speed on that stretch of the road. I was thinking
Mr.
speed
Morris
bumps.
has something to say again.
Spike strips?
Speed bumps.
I'm the one that asked Alice to put this on the agenda. 20th Street from 29 to Highway 12 is turning into a racetrack. I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but there's over 50 driveways.
No, there's 120 roads that connect to that road in that 3 miles, 120.
And the families have changed over. The kids have grown up, they're gone, and now we got a lot of young families in there, people walking their dogs, people taking. We've got,
Riding my bike.
we got people right there, 2 board members riding their bike without reflective vests that I've cautioned them on. But, some of those cars are going 65, 70 miles an hour down through there. And what I had suggested is maybe at the transfer station, northbound, and maybe across the street, another 45 zone sign to just remind them to ask for their voluntary compliance and just to slow down a little bit. You know, and I didn't think of it till right now, but if you had any of those signs, children present signs, you know, that you've seen, those warning signs on that street, that would be really beneficial for those people that walk their kids and stuff. I don't walk on that street, I walk on my cul-de-sac. But that traffic is, it's like a speedway early in the morning, but especially from about 3:30 in the afternoon till about 6. They're really cranking down through there, so that's it.
and I
Scott,
believe,
I'm gonna,
oh, go ahead.
Excuse
I'm
me.
gonna get a hold of the sheriff and.
Could you tell me what the speed limit is through there now?
It's 45 miles an hour. And,
They're doing 60, 70, 80.
Mhm.
you know, just think on Jeffers Road, that's 35. And you
Mhm.
expect at 35 that people will go under 45.
Mhm.
They're always gonna fudge it a little bit. And the halo effect doesn't last very long now. They look at the sign, and
Mhm.
I asked Matt, the sign northbound, right at 20th Street and 20th Avenue,
Mhm.
he took the rough cut mower and cleared that all out, and I think that helped a little bit.
You know,
We should put them more often for sure, if we have to.
the first, I think the one that originally got that down to 45 was Dave Janish, lived on the road, and he brought a petition before the board many, many years ago, and he wanted that down to 45. And you'll never guess who the very first one that got picked up on Dave Janish did.
That's very typical.
Yeah.
But there is a process on that, and maybe I know that there's some neighbors down there that have talked about trying to get it down to 35, but even if they went 45 miles an hour, that would help out a lot. And I did talk to the county here a couple of years ago. They can sit right in my driveway at my little hobby farm there, and I don't believe that they'd have, that'd be a perfect speed trap.
Speed enforcement area, isn't that what it's called?
How do you get the 45-mile-an-hour signs? We don't-
Oh, yeah, we buy them from the sign place over in Chippewa. That's not a problem, getting the signs.
What
We
about something that
we can
says,
get 'em.
slow
How often
children?
how often should we put them signs? I mean, them signs, because there aren't very many up there, are there?
Four.
Is there one each mile?
There's just 4 signs, I think. When I ride my bike, I counted them the other day. I think there's only 4.
You know, there should be
Is there
one
that
every mile for sure,
There is.
And what I'm-
going both directions.
What I'm asking is on that half a mile thing, especially from 20th Street to 30th, or 20th Avenue to 30th Avenue. And I'm sure that's the area that I concentrate on, because I turn right there to go home. But I'm sure 20th, 30th Avenue, all the rest, 29 is just as bad.
Yeah. As I said, you gotta have at least 6 signs along there. Go ahead.
Mark, why don't we, do a traffic survey? You know, because then we would have something concrete to go.
Oh, we got
share.
one from that, from not too long ago, year before last. 20th Street, oh yeah. Oh, yeah.
You know, I mean,
What was it called?
you know, it'll tell you how many people are going.
Oh, we even had, it told us how many trucks, what the mix was, how many buses went over it, what the speeds were. Yeah, we've got that from 2 years ago. That's a
Don't forget to do
traffic
this.
study that was done 2 years ago. That was a couple of
Well, he said he
$1,000
was
for
gonna
that
come, but it
study,
got
so
some-
and that's gonna still be pretty
Something should be done.
Pretty accurate.
But I'm just saying, that when you go to
Yes.
the sheriff and say, we need it for it,
right.
here's the statistical data.
Right, and that road is at the verge, cause I think when we did the overlay, I think there was 127 driveways that connected to it, something like that, from both directions. There's 100 and some that they had to figure in where they were going a little bit wider each time. Cause it was a significant amount. I was kinda surprised it was that many. And at that rate, the county may drop that speed limit to 35. Problem is, if you don't enforce it, they're still gonna go 65, so. And like you said, if they're going 45, it'd be okay. People would go, okay, that's not that bad, but they're not. They're going 65, and I think that traffic study, I'll find that traffic study.
Question, does that run all the way from 20th Avenue down to Highway 12? It's just from 20th Avenue north, isn't it?
45,
Yeah.
yeah, because there's only one
There's only
house or
Two
two down there, yeah. Yeah, so it doesn't, it's 55 down at the first mile. but-
Mr. Beckwith,
Yes, sir.
I think about 6 of the people who get it first are people that actually live on that road. That's my observation.
I know for a fact that the one that presented the petition was the first one, so I'll bet you're right, Scott.
We had almost a real bad situation the other day, earlier this week, or last week, where a school bus was almost rear-ended by a semi-tractor. And it locked up all its brakes, the smoke was rolling, I understand there's 100 feet of rubber.
Yeah, that's on 30th.
Yep.
Street. Yeah.
And I'd got
Going
2
up there.
calls about it, and I know, Scott got a call from the bus driver, and it had come within inches of that bus.
Yeah, the driver was definitely not paying
She was
attention,
shook up.
Cause he could, the semi, he could have seen, he saw him from 29, he's going south and was on the hill. So you could see all the way from there's a bus, it's got lights on it, I don't know what he was thinking. Cell phone, I don't have any idea. That's the other problem with that speed on these roads now, they're not just doing 55 and 60, they're doing 55 and 60 with a cell phone.
My son was out there getting his mail, and he
That's a
said
big problem.
that guy was still climbing when he slammed on his brakes. He was still
Yeah, I
climbing
heard
up
that.
in his gears. So
Yeah. so
he was
it's-
way too
but-
fast.
Yeah, we gotta, when Mitch Gibson used to send somebody out here to enforce the traffic coming on T over the hill, it was 85 is what they were getting them at. They weren't stopping them at 70, they didn't stop them until they got up over 75, and he was still one after the other all day long. 85 miles an hour over this hill. You know, it's like, and then, but if you don't enforce it, it doesn't matter what your speed limit
Right.
is. If police don't come out and enforce it, it doesn't matter. You can put 25 on there and people are still gonna do 65 if it's not enforced.
Are you gonna get a hold of the sheriff then?
I'll call them and see if they can do anything, but, and you know, they can come out there and they'll scare everybody for a week or two, and then they'll slow down, and then they'll say, oh, they went away, we can drive past again.
Can we look into getting a couple more signs?
What we need is an old cop car.
Park it in the driveway.
Put a dummy in there. Sounds like a good idea.
Anyway, we'll start working on that, and I'll see about getting some extra signs up there. Put a
Maybe
couple
get them
more
to
in
sit on
Smile.
30th for an afternoon and over on 40th too.
All right, moving on, set potential agenda items. Anything? Yeah.
Can we
got-
have the camera? Do you think Krista Computers will give us something in a month's time, or no? Ken?
Yeah,
Yeah?
yeah, I think.
And we probably should go through this recycling Johnson.
Right.
Johnson Rolla?
What else do we need to discuss? We may be discussing.
Budget meetings?
Next meeting is Tuesday, October 8th.
We gotta set the budget meetings.
We'll set that, we can set that next meeting, but for the next meeting, I have to be out of town for sure.
On October 8th?
October 8th, I'm gonna be out of town, so, but we can set the budget meeting for that next week, I think, can't we? Did you look, Scott? What time frame we have to have that?
You mean like for noticing? I didn't.
Yeah, what did we have last year for the, do you have last year's,
I'll have to find out. I'll email you.
what days we're having that? The budget hearing,
Probably
budget meeting, we need to have a budget meeting to set the budget.
There was something, here's Monday.
Well, there was
October
planning
8th.
first, right? And then there was,
Yeah, look at
Right,
it, we had a lot
budget
of them.
planning, what is this one? Is this a budget planning, what is this? We discuss budget plan, yeah, so this was the budget planning on October 22nd,
Yeah.
which was about as late as we could get it.
Yeah, no, that's just October 9th, that was a regular meeting.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep, and then here's something else in October. Look, we had
We wouldn't
something
wanna go
else.
past the,
And on October 30th,
that's the budget hearing,
must have been, huh?
yeah, oh, no,
A word after the meeting.
budget plan.
Sure. Sure.
Okay, so we met, we had a
Our
budget,
budget hearing was November
was,
15th.
yeah, budget hearing was November 15th. So we've got, we'll just have to set that for the next meeting, that'll need to get set when the budget planning and budget hearing and that kind of stuff, so that we get the right notices put in the paper and all that kind of stuff, so.
We have to meet twice on the budget? Why did we meet twice? Oh, I know, because it was just.
Yeah, that's right, yeah, that's
what
right.
happened. There
Poor-
was-
poorly
we didn't have
attended.
Anybody here but the two of us.
Right, that's right, we didn't have a quorum the first
Yeah.
time that we had that meeting on the 22nd,
So
we
it was
went to.
we had to go to the 30th, that's
Yeah,
what happened to
yeah.
us.
Yeah. So what we should try to do is get it in that, between October 15th and October 22nd, 25th, somewhere in them timeframes. But I'll be out on the 8th, 14th, and then, let's see, that week, the 21st, 2nd, 3rd, I think I might not be in. I might have to go out of town 21st, 2nd, and 23rd of October, so, but, you know, we'll set that, if we could set the budget planning meeting for 13th, 14th, 15th, 16th, 17th, the Thursday? 17th?
You got your calendar here, let's
Right
look
here.
at it. That's the one-
Thursday,
one's the
October
one first.
17th? Can we do that? You guys able to do that? I could do that for the budget planning meeting.
I am not sure, it's getting
Yeah, see,
pretty
you got-
close. I got a guiding deal
Yeah.
from, Alabama coming up sometime. I don't know if it's there by then or
Can you
not, or
let
if
us
it's a little
know?
late.
Let's,
What
let us
dates are
know
you
when
looking?
you're gonna, when you,
Okay.
when you can, in that, if it needs to go, because we could do it the 15th or the 16th.
How about
Without
at the next meeting, could I give you that? Okay.
Yeah, just, and if you could figure out a time, and I'm gonna have to too, I got some stuff in October that just every week. it's
What time,
something.
what date are you looking at
Mhm.
now?
So 15th, 16th,
Well, we
17th,
just come back
18th?
from this is the Wisconsin Towns
On the
Association. meeting.
15th, so you could do it on the 15th, you just gotta come back and do it that night. But, I mean, it's possible, if Bud's could
Well-
only make it, that's fine.
Is that
Sure.
Tuesday?
Yeah, we could.
And
Is
if
that-
I can, if you wanna make it the 16th, I've driven back before, but I just assume not, you know.
Right,
It's a
right,
couple
no,
hundred
see-
miles.
See when you're scheduled, and then we'll figure
Mm-hmm.
out when,
Okay, if it possible.
For this meeting, why don't you make it a different night that we can, that you're gonna be here, or you're gonna be gone? Go away then, just go.
but, so if we can get, the, somewhere 15th, 16th, 17th, 18th, any of
Yeah.
them.
Sure.
Any of those days.
Sure.
You figure out.
I'll let you know
Let
if
us
it's
know.
all right,
And
yeah.
then- And then our budget hearing can be in November, and then we can do that either the first or second week of November.
Sure.
And then we should have enough time to be able to get the stuff filed with the state, so, and get the tax levy and stuff out.
Sounds
You know,
great.
get all- get,
Thank you.
Laura can get all that stuff figured out.
Thank you.
What are you gonna do with this one?
Well, let's wait, I'm gonna tell them guys.
This is mine.
Here, I'll give you.
Better make a motion to adjourn before they leave.
Well, yeah, but you
We gotta finish it.
Go ahead.
I'll make a motion that we adjourn the meeting.
Second.
Meeting's adjourned.
can, yeah, but, and you would-
No,